Paris, France, 1830. The grand lecture hall at École Centrale stands silent, except for the scratch of chalk on the blackboard. Rows of young men in pressed suits lean forward in their seats. Their eyes are fixed on the figure at the front of the room. He's 24 years old. His skin is brown. His hand moves across the blackboard with absolute confidence, writing equations that most of these students will spend years trying to fully understand. He's teaching them thermodynamics. He's teaching them applied mechanics. He's teaching them how heat moves through systems, how pressure changes everything, how energy can be captured and reused instead of wasted into the air. The students watch in silence. Some take notes furiously, others just stare. Because this young professor is brilliant. Not just competent, not just adequate, brilliant. One of the youngest instructors this prestigious engineering school has ever hired. And he's black. His name is Norbert Rillieux. And 13 years from now, he will invent a machine that revolutionizes an entire industry. A machine that saves thousands of lives. A machine that makes white plantation owners millionaires. A machine whose principles are still used today in industries worth billions of dollars. But here's what they don't teach you. After he gave them this genius, after he transformed their failing sugar industry, after he made them rich beyond measure, they forced him to flee Louisiana. They exiled him. They erased his name from the history books. They made sure your children would never learn that a free black man in 1843 was smarter than every white engineer in America. They tried to bury him, but today we're digging up the truth. And what you're about to learn will shatter everything you thought you knew about black genius, about who built America, about why the wealth gap exists. This isn't ancient history. This affects your life today. This explains why brilliant black minds are still invisible in STEM fields. This reveals the systematic theft that continues right now. Everything you learned about innovation was whitewashed. They taught you about Eli Whitney and Thomas Edison and Henry Ford. They taught you that white men invented everything that matters. But they never taught you about the black engineer who revolutionized the sugar industry while most black people were enslaved. They never taught you about the genius who taught Europe's brightest minds, then came home to save black lives and got exiled for his brilliance. By the end of this video, you'll know why a 24-year-old black man was teaching at Europe's top engineering school while most black people in America were enslaved. You'll know how one invention by a free black man in 1843 made the sugar industry 50% more profitable, and they tried to steal the credit. You'll know why this same genius was forced to flee Louisiana in the 1850s, despite making white plantation owners millionaires. You'll know how this invention is still used today in industries worth billions, and his name isn't in most textbooks. And you'll understand why your child's STEM dreams aren't unrealistic. They're genetic. Innovation is in your DNA. They just spent 400 years hiding that truth from you. This isn't just about a forgotten inventor. This is about stolen black genius. This is about trillions of dollars in unpaid royalties. This is about why you were taught that black people don't belong in science and engineering. That's a lie. And today, that lie dies. After this video, you'll never look at refined sugar the same way again. You'll never accept the narrative that black people aren't innovative. You'll never let anyone tell your children they don't belong in STEM, because you'll know the truth. You'll know your inheritance. You'll know what they stole. Let's begin. Norbert Rillieux was born on March 17, 1806, in New Orleans, Louisiana. Think about that date for a moment, 1806. Thomas Jefferson was president. Slavery was legal in every southern state. The Atlantic slave trade was still operating. Most black people in America were property, not people. But Norbert Rillieux was born free. His father was Vincent Rillieux, a wealthy French engineer and plantation owner. His mother was Constance Vivant, a free woman of color. In Louisiana's complex racial system, this made Norbert what they called gens de couleur libre, free people of color. It was a strange middle ground between slavery and citizenship. You could own property, you could run businesses, you could educate yourself, but you weren't a full citizen. You couldn't vote, you couldn't marry white people. You had to obey the black codes, the laws designed to keep black people controlled, even when they were technically free. Norbert's father understood something crucial. He understood that in Louisiana, no matter how free you were, no matter how much money you had, your brown skin would always be a ceiling over your head. So he made a decision that changed everything. When Norbert was 13 years old in 1819, Vincent Rillieux sent his son across the Atlantic Ocean to Paris, France. Think about this. Picture this. While most black children in America were being sold on auction blocks, while black families were being torn apart and shipped to plantations, while black boys Norbert's age were learning to pick cotton or cut sugarcane, under the threat of the whip, this 13-year-old boy was crossing the ocean to study at Europe's finest schools. Why Paris? Because in Paris, your skin color didn't determine your ceiling. In Paris, if you were brilliant, doors opened. In Paris, Norbert could become what his father already knew he was destined to be: an engineer, a genius, a man who would change the world. Norbert enrolled at École Centrale, one of the most prestigious engineering schools in France. And he didn't just attend. He didn't just pass. He excelled. He mastered physics, mechanics, thermodynamics. He understood how systems worked, how energy moved, how pressure and temperature and time all connected in mathematical perfection. His professors recognized something extraordinary. This young man didn't just memorize formulas, he understood the principles behind them. He could see solutions that others missed. By 1830, Norbert Rillieux was 24 years old, and École Centrale made him an instructor in applied mechanics, one of the youngest instructors in the history of the school, a black man teaching white European engineers in 1830. While back in America, southern states were passing laws making it illegal to teach black people to read, while plantation owners were beating enslaved people for daring to look at a book, while the entire American system was built on the lie that black people were intellectually inferior, Norbert Rillieux stood in front of that lecture hall and proved them wrong every single day. Pause and think about this. Really think about it. Your ancestors weren't helpless. Your ancestors weren't inferior. Your ancestors included a man who taught Europe's brightest minds before he was 25 years old. They erased this from your textbooks because if you knew this, you'd know that every lie they told you about black intelligence was exactly that, a lie. But Norbert's story doesn't end in Paris, because in the early 1830s, something called him back to Louisiana. His father was aging. The family business needed attention. And Norbert had been developing an idea about sugar. Louisiana in the 1830s was experiencing a sugar boom. The climate was perfect for growing sugarcane. The Mississippi River provided easy transportation. And most importantly, Louisiana had something the Caribbean islands didn't. It was part of the United States, which meant no import tariffs on sugar shipped to northern cities. By the mid-1830s, Louisiana was producing 95% of all sugar made in America. Fortunes were being made. Plantation owners were becoming millionaires. But there was a problem. The process of refining sugar was wasteful, dangerous, and deadly. And it was killing black people by the hundreds. Let me paint you a picture of how sugar was made in 1835 Louisiana. The method was called the Jamaica train. It had been used for over 100 years, and it hadn't changed because no one cared enough about black lives to improve it. Here's how it worked. After enslaved people cut the sugarcane in the fields, they crushed it in massive mills to extract the juice. That juice was then boiled to evaporate the water and concentrate the sugar. But instead of one efficient system, the Jamaica train used 5 to 7 enormous open kettles made of cast iron. Each kettle held hundreds of gallons of boiling sugarcane juice, and the temperature in those kettles ranged from 212 degrees Fahrenheit to 240 degrees. Now here's the deadly part. Enslaved people had to transfer the boiling juice from one kettle to the next using long wooden ladles. By hand, they stood in the Louisiana heat, which could reach over 100 degrees in the summer. They stood next to open flames heating the kettles. They stood over boiling liquid that could melt skin off bone in seconds. And they used wooden spoons to scoop hundreds of gallons of this boiling juice and pour it from kettle 1 to kettle 2 to kettle 3 to kettle 4 to kettle 5. One splash and your arm was burned to the bone. One slip and the ladle tipped boiling juice onto your chest, your face, your legs. One moment of exhaustion after 16 hours of work and you fell into the kettle itself. Hundreds of enslaved people were burned every single year in Louisiana sugar houses. Severe burns. Third-degree burns that left scars for life if you survived at all. Many people lost their hands, lost arms, lost the ability to work, which on a plantation meant you became worthless, which meant you were sold or simply left to die. Children were burned, women were burned, old men were burned, and the plantation owners called these accidents. But they weren't accidents. They were the inevitable result of a system designed without any regard for black life. They were the predictable consequence of valuing profit over people. Because redesigning the process would cost money. Buying new equipment would cost money. And why spend money protecting enslaved people when you could just replace them? Norbert Rillieux came back to Louisiana and saw this horror. He walked into sugar houses and watched black people risk their lives every single day. He saw the burns. He heard the screams when someone spilled boiling juice on themselves. He saw the scars, and he knew he had the knowledge to stop it. But the problem wasn't just the danger. The Jamaica train method was also incredibly inefficient. It wasted enormous amounts of fuel because all that heat from the boiling kettles just rose into the air and disappeared. It produced poor quality sugar because the high temperatures burned the juice, turning it dark and bitter instead of white and pure. And it was slow. The entire process took days because you could only boil so much at a time in open kettles. Norbert understood thermodynamics. He understood that heat is energy, and energy can be reused if you design the system correctly. He understood that water boils at different temperatures depending on air pressure. At normal pressure, water boils at 212 degrees. But if you reduce the pressure, you can make water boil at 150 degrees, 120 degrees, even lower. And that means you can evaporate water using much less heat, much less fuel, and much less danger. He began working on a design, a system that would use vacuum pressure and multiple chambers to evaporate sugarcane juice safely, efficiently, and automatically. A system where black people wouldn't have to stand next to open flames ladling boiling liquid by hand. A system that would save lives. But here's what makes Norbert Rillieux extraordinary. His genius wasn't just engineering. His genius was compassion. He saw suffering, and he used his mind to end it. He saw black people treated as disposable, and he designed a machine that proved black lives mattered enough to protect. He could have stayed in Paris teaching wealthy white students living comfortably, avoiding the racism and violence of Louisiana. But he came back because his people needed him. That's who you come from. That's your heritage. Not victims waiting for rescue, warriors using brilliance to save lives. Norbert worked on his invention for 9 years. Think about that. 9 years of calculations, designs, prototypes, failures, improvements. 9 years of testing different configurations. 9 years of solving problems that no one else had even tried to solve because no one else cared enough. And in 1843, he perfected it. He called it the multiple effect evaporator, and it changed everything. Here's how Norbert's invention worked, and I need you to understand this because the principles he designed are still used today in industries all over the world. The multiple effect evaporator used a series of 3 or 4 large pans stacked in a closed system under vacuum pressure. Instead of boiling the sugarcane juice at 240 degrees in open kettles, Norbert's system boiled it at 150 degrees inside sealed chambers. Here's the genius part. The steam that evaporated from the juice in the first pan didn't just escape into the air. It was captured and piped into the heating coils of the second pan, where it provided the heat to boil the juice in that pan. Then the steam from the second pan was piped into the third pan, and so on. The same heat energy was used 3 or 4 times instead of being wasted. This meant the system used 50% less fuel. 50%. That's cutting your costs in half right there. But it also meant the sugar was higher quality because the lower temperatures didn't burn or darken the juice. The final product was whiter, purer, more valuable. And because the system was enclosed and automated, enslaved people didn't have to ladle boiling liquid by hand anymore. The juice moved through pipes. The steam moved through coils. The entire process was safer, faster, and better. On August 26, 1843, Norbert Rillieux received United States patent number 3237 for his multiple effect evaporator. A free black man in Louisiana held a patent for one of the most important industrial inventions of the 19th century. The first plantation to install Rillieux's system was Myrtle Grove, owned by Theodore Packwood, just outside New Orleans. The results were immediate and undeniable. Packwood's sugar production increased. His fuel costs dropped by half. His sugar was the whitest and purest on the market, commanding premium prices. Other plantation owners heard about it. They came to see the machine, and they wanted one too. By 1849, just 6 years after Rillieux got his patent, 13 sugar plantations in Louisiana had installed his system. A company in Philadelphia called Merrick and Town began manufacturing the machines in 3 sizes. Small systems that could produce 6,000 pounds of sugar per day. Medium systems that could produce 12,000 pounds per day. and large systems that could produce 18,000 pounds per day. The machines were so profitable that sugar plantation owners recovered their investment costs within the first harvest season. Think about what this means. White plantation owners were becoming millionaires using a black man's invention. The Louisiana sugar industry was booming, transforming from a regional business into a national powerhouse. And at the center of it all was Norbert Rillieux's genius. John Heitman, a historian who studied the sugar industry for decades, called Rillieux's multiple effect evaporator the premier engineering achievement in 19th century sugar technology. Other historians compared its impact to Eli Whitney's cotton gin, saying it was just as revolutionary for sugar as the gin was for cotton. Chemical engineering professors called it one of the great early innovations in the entire field of chemical engineering. But here's what you really need to understand. Rillieux's invention didn't just change sugar. The principles he designed, the multiple effect evaporation under vacuum pressure, are used today in dozens of industries. When companies make condensed milk, they use Rillieux's method. When they make soap glue gelatin, they use his method. When they recycle paper pulp, they use his method. When distilleries make whiskey, they use his method. The pharmaceutical industry uses his method. The food processing industry uses his method. Norbert Rillieux invented a system so advanced, so fundamental, that it became the foundation of industrial evaporation for the next 180 years. We are in the year 2026, and factories all over the world are still using the principles that a free black man designed in 1843. But they don't teach you his name. They don't put his picture in the textbooks. They don't tell your children that one of the most important industrial inventions in history came from a black mind. And that's not an accident. That's erasure. That's systematic theft of your heritage. Because if you knew this, if black children learned in school that their ancestors included engineering geniuses who revolutionized entire industries, the lie of black inferiority would collapse. And they can't allow that. Norbert was celebrated in engineering circles. His name appeared in technical journals. Plantation owners knew exactly who designed the machines, making them rich. He made good money from his patent royalties. He was respected in the free people of color community in New Orleans. He continued improving his designs, making them more efficient, more powerful, more profitable. But America in the 1850s was changing. And it was changing in a way that would force Norbert to make a choice between his home and his safety. The 1850s saw a massive increase in laws targeting free people of color throughout the South. Southern legislators were terrified. They were terrified because free black people like Norbert proved that black people could be educated, successful, wealthy, brilliant. Free black people destroyed the justification for slavery. If black people could thrive when given freedom and opportunity, then the entire argument that slavery was necessary, that black people needed white masters to survive, collapsed. So Southern states began passing laws designed to make life impossible for free people of color. Louisiana was one of the worst. By the mid-1850s, free people of color in Louisiana were required to carry passes, written documents that proved they were free and gave them permission to move around. If you were stopped by police or any white person and you didn't have your pass, you could be arrested, jailed, even re-enslaved. The same state that was making millions of dollars from Norbert's invention was now telling him he needed white permission to walk down the street. Free people of color were banned from gathering in groups. They were banned from organizing. Their rights, already limited, were being stripped away year by year. And Norbert Rillieux watched this happening. He watched his freedom shrinking. He watched the walls closing in. And then came the final insult. The event that made Norbert realize he could never truly belong in Louisiana, no matter how brilliant he was, no matter how much wealth he created for white people. New Orleans had a serious problem with flooding and sewage. The city was built on swampy land near the Mississippi River. Heavy rains caused flooding. Sewage systems were inadequate. Yellow fever epidemics swept through, regularly killing thousands. The city desperately needed a modern drainage and sewage system. Norbert Rillieux, who had already proven his engineering genius, designed a comprehensive plan for a citywide sewage and drainage system. His design was innovative, practical, and would have saved thousands of lives by preventing the spread of disease. He submitted his proposal to the Louisiana State Legislature, and they rejected it, not because the design was flawed, not because it wouldn't work. They rejected it because Norbert Rillieux was black. One of the legislators who campaigned against Rillieux's plan was Edmund Forstall, who had previously worked with Norbert and knew exactly how brilliant he was. But Forstall argued that Louisiana could not grant such an honor to a free person of color. The optics were unacceptable. A black man couldn't be given credit for solving one of the city's biggest problems. Years later, after multiple yellow fever epidemics killed thousands more New Orleans residents, the city finally built a drainage and sewage system. And it was nearly identical to Norbert Rillieux's rejected design. But they paid white engineers to implement it. They gave white men the credit. They paid white men the money. And Norbert's name was never mentioned. Think about the cruelty of that. Think about the absolute evil. Your design could save thousands of lives, but we'd rather let those people die than admit a black man is smarter than white engineers. We'll steal your design later and give someone else credit. But you'll get nothing. Not recognition, not gratitude, not even your name in the history books. Norbert had enough. By the late 1850s, he was done with Louisiana, done with the racism, done with the constant degradation, done with being treated as less than human despite being more brilliant than any white engineer in the state. He left. He went back to Paris, and he never returned to Louisiana. He lived the rest of his life in France. For a while, he returned to teaching at École Centrale. Then he shifted his focus to Egyptology, studying ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics and contributing to efforts to decode them. At 75 years old, he received another patent, this one for refining both sugarcane and sugar beets. His mind never stopped working. His genius never dimmed. Norbert Rillieux died in Paris on October 8, 1894. He was 88 years old. He died in a country that respected his mind more than the country that profited from his genius. And here's the bitter irony that should make you angry. Louisiana made hundreds of millions of dollars from his invention. Plantation owners became multimillionaires. The sugar industry transformed the state's economy. But they forced the man who made it all possible into exile. They rejected his life-saving sewage design because of his skin color. And after he died, they erased his name from the history books. Your children weren't taught about Norbert Rillieux. Your grandchildren won't be taught about him unless something changes. Because acknowledging him means acknowledging that a black man in 1843 was more innovative than Thomas Edison, more impactful than Eli Whitney, more important to American industrial development than dozens of white inventors whose names are in every textbook. They can't allow that, so they buried him. But we just dug him up. And now you know. Now you know what they stole. Now you know who you really come from. But here's what you need to understand. Norbert Rillieux wasn't alone. He wasn't the exception. He was part of a pattern. And that pattern is systematic theft of black genius that continues to this very day. Every time a black person invented something valuable, the system found a way to steal it, erase it, or exile the inventor. This wasn't bad luck. This wasn't coincidence. This was policy. Let me prove it to you with 3 more names, 3 more black geniuses, 3 more stories they hid from you. Granville T. Woods, born in 1856 in Columbus, Ohio. He had less than 2 years of formal education, but he taught himself electrical engineering by reading every book he could find and working on railroads. By the time he was in his 20s, he was inventing things that changed American infrastructure forever. In 1887, Woods patented the synchronous multiplex railway telegraph. That sounds complicated, so let me explain what it did. Before Woods invented this system, trains couldn't communicate with each other or with stations while they were moving. This caused constant collisions. Trains crashed into each other regularly because conductors had no way to know if another train was on the same track ahead of them. Hundreds of people died every year in train accidents that could have been prevented with communication. Woods solved it. His system allowed moving trains to send and receive telegraph messages. Conductors could warn each other about obstacles, delays, other trains on the track. Station masters could send updates about weather track damage, schedule changes. This invention saved thousands of lives, maybe tens of thousands. It transformed railroad safety overnight. Thomas Edison heard about Woods' patent, and he wanted it. So Edison did what he always did when he saw valuable technology he didn't invent. He sued. Edison claimed that he, not Woods, was the real inventor of the railway telegraph system. He claimed Woods stole the idea from him. He took Woods to court trying to steal the patent. Woods fought back. He hired lawyers and defended his invention, and he won. The courts ruled that Granville Woods was the true inventor and Edison's claim was false. Edison lost, so Edison sued him again. Different angle, same goal: steal the patent. And again, Woods won. 2 times Woods beat Thomas Edison in court and proved his genius was his own. But fighting those lawsuits cost Woods almost everything he had. Legal fees drained his money. The stress consumed his time and energy. And Edison knew that. Edison had nearly unlimited money. He could afford to sue forever. Woods could not. So after losing the court cases, Edison made Woods an offer. Sell me some of your patents at a reduced price, and I'll stop attacking you. Woods sold. He had no choice. He sold multiple patents to Edison and to other companies for far less than they were worth because he couldn't afford to keep fighting. Over his lifetime, Granville Woods held more than 50 patents, 50 inventions that shaped American technology. He invented improvements to electric railways. He invented better circuits for electrical systems. He invented the automatic air brake. He invented incubators. He invented safety systems for electrical equipment. And he died broke. He died on January 30th, 1910 in New York City, living in poverty forgotten, erased from the history books. Meanwhile, Thomas Edison became known as the greatest inventor in American history. And almost no one learned Granville Wood's name. Another black genius. Another white man trying to steal his patents. Another life spent fighting just to keep credit for his own brilliance. Another erasure from history. Lewis Latimer, born in 1848 in Chelsea, Massachusetts, to parents who had escaped slavery. He taught himself mechanical drawing while working as an office assistant at a patent law firm. By the time he was in his 20s, he was one of the best technical illustrators in the country. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell hired Latimer to draw the patent blueprints for the telephone. Yes, that telephone. Latimer drew the technical plans that Bell submitted to the patent office. But Latimer didn't stop there. In 1881, he invented and patented a carbon filament for light bulbs. Now, you were taught that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. That's partially true. Edison invented an early version, but Edison's first light bulbs only lasted a few hours, sometimes less. The filament would burn out almost immediately, making the bulbs impractical and expensive. Lewis Latimer solved the problem. He developed a carbon filament that lasted for months instead of hours. His filament made electric light bulbs actually usable, actually practical, actually affordable. Without Latimer's carbon filament, Edison's light bulb would have been a failed experiment. Latimer went on to design and supervise the installation of electric lighting systems in New York, Philadelphia, Montreal, and London. He literally lit up cities. He wrote the first book on electric lighting, explaining the technology so others could understand and improve it. He worked for both the Edison Electric Light Company and Westinghouse. He was the only black member of the Edison Pioneers, the elite group of engineers who worked on early electrical systems. And history gave him a footnote. If you're lucky, you might see his name in small print in a textbook that says Edison and his team invented the light bulb. His team. Not Lewis Latimer revolutionized the light bulb and made it work. Just his team, like he was some assistant who fetched coffee. Edison got credit. Edison's name is in every school in America. Every child learns about Thomas Edison, inventor of the light bulb. But most of those children will never learn that a black man named Lewis Latimer made that bulb actually function. Another black genius. Another white man taking credit. Another name erased from history. Garrett Morgan. Born in 1877 in Paris, Kentucky, to formerly enslaved parents. Only completed elementary school, but educated himself through constant reading and experimentation. In 1914, Morgan invented and patented a safety hood, what we now call a gas mask. It was a breathing device with a long tube that pulled air from ground level where smoke and toxic gases were less concentrated. It allowed firefighters and rescue workers to breathe in situations that would normally kill them. On July 25, 1916, an explosion trapped 32 workers in a tunnel being dug under Lake Erie in Cleveland, Ohio. Poisonous gases filled the tunnel. Rescue workers who tried to enter collapsed within minutes. The men trapped inside were dying. The fire department didn't know what to do. Someone remembered that Garrett Morgan, a black inventor in Cleveland, had demonstrated a safety breathing device. They called him. Morgan arrived with his brother and several of his safety hoods. They went into that tunnel filled with poisonous gas, and they brought out survivor after survivor. 32 men were pulled from that tunnel. Some were already dead, but Morgan's invention allowed rescuers to retrieve their bodies so families could bury them. His gas mask saved lives that night. News of the rescue spread. Fire departments across the country wanted to buy Morgan's safety hood. But there was a problem. When fire departments learned that the inventor was black, many southern departments refused to buy it. They would rather let their firefighters die than use a device invented by a black man. So Morgan hired a white man to pretend to be the inventor. During sales presentations, Morgan introduced himself as the assistant, while the white man took credit as the creator. That's how racist America was in 1916. A black inventor had to pretend to be the assistant to his own invention just to save white people's lives. Morgan's gas mask design became the basis for the masks used by American soldiers in World War I. His invention saved thousands of soldiers from poison gas attacks. And still, most history books don't mention his name. But Morgan wasn't done. In 1923, he invented the three-position traffic signal. Before Morgan, traffic signals only had two positions: stop and go, red and green. This caused constant accidents because there was no warning before the light changed. Cars were driving at full speed when suddenly the light turned red and they had to slam on their brakes. Crashes happened at nearly every intersection. Morgan added the yellow light, the warning position, a buffer between go and stop that gave drivers time to slow down safely. This simple innovation reduced traffic accidents dramatically. It's the system we still use today. Every time you stop at a yellow light, you're using Garrett Morgan's invention. Morgan sold his patent to General Electric for $40,000. That sounds like a lot until you realize that in today's money, that's about $700,000. And General Electric has made billions with a B billions of dollars from traffic signal technology over the last 100 years. Morgan got $700,000 once. General Electric got billions forever. Morgan died in 1963. Most Americans still don't know his name, but his inventions are used millions of times every single day all over the world. Do you see it now? Do you see the pattern? Every single time a black inventor created something valuable, white companies tried to steal the patent. White men took credit. The black inventor died poor, while white men profited billions. History books erased their names. This wasn't coincidence. This was policy. The United States Patent Office made it nearly impossible for black people to get patents before the Civil War. If you were enslaved, you couldn't own property, which meant you couldn't own a patent. If you invented something while enslaved, your owner owned the rights to it. Historians estimate that hundreds, maybe thousands, of inventions by enslaved people were simply claimed by plantation owners. The enslaved inventor's name was never recorded. The owner took full credit. And we'll never know how many brilliant black minds created things that white masters profited from. After the Civil War, theoretically, black people could get patents. But the system made it expensive and complicated. Patent application fees were $15 to $35. That's $500 to $1,000 in today's money. Plus, you needed a lawyer, which cost another $50 to $100. Plus, you needed professional technical drawings, which cost another $20 to $50. Total cost to get a patent, 3 to 6 months' salary for the average black worker. Most black inventors couldn't afford it, so their inventions were never patented, never protected, never credited to them. White manufacturers copied their designs, mass-produced them, made fortunes, and the black inventor got nothing. And when a black inventor did succeed in getting a patent, white companies used legal warfare to destroy them. They sued, draining the inventor's money with legal fees. They made lowball offers to buy patents, threatening to sue if the inventor refused. They copied the design with minor changes and filed competing patents, then sued the original inventor for patent infringement. They hired the black inventor as an assistant, had them explain their invention, then fired them and filed for the patent themselves under a white person's name. Norbert Rillieux fled to France. Granville Woods died broke. Lewis Latimer got a footnote. Garrett Morgan had to hide his face. That's not bad luck. That's systematic theft of black genius. And it continues today. But it's not just that they stole black genius. They made sure you would never even know it existed. They erased it from the textbooks. They changed the laws to make black innovation impossible. They built a culture that said, black people don't invent things. And that cover-up, that erasure, that's what I need you to understand now. Because once you see how they did it, you'll see that it's still happening right now. Norbert Rillieux received his patent in 1843. For the next 150 years, his name appeared in almost zero textbooks used in American schools. Zero. History books taught about the sugar industry. They taught about Louisiana's economic development. They taught about industrial innovation in the 19th century. But they didn't teach about the black man who revolutionized it all. Engineering textbooks taught the principles of multiple effect evaporation. Chemical engineering students learned about vacuum pressure and heat reuse. But most of those textbooks didn't mention who invented it. They just presented it as if it appeared out of nowhere, as if the principles materialized spontaneously, as if no human mind designed them. And if they did mention a name, it was buried in a footnote in small print that most students never read. Why? Because the narrative had to be protected. The narrative that white men invented everything important. The narrative that innovation comes from white minds. The narrative that black people are intellectually inferior. If textbooks taught that Norbert Rillieux, a free black man, in 1843 was smarter than every white engineer in America, if they taught that he revolutionized an entire industry, if they taught that his principles are still used worldwide today, then black children would know their ancestors were geniuses. And they couldn't allow that. Think about the psychological warfare of this. Black children go to school and learn about Eli Whitney, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, the Wright brothers, Alexander Graham Bell, all white men, all celebrated as brilliant innovators. They learn that white men built America, that white men invented everything that matters. And they never learn about Norbert Rillieux, Granville Woods, Lewis Latimer, Garrett, Morgan, Benjamin Banneker, and hundreds of others. So what message does that send? It sends the message that black people don't innovate, that black people aren't smart enough for science and engineering, that STEM fields are white spaces where black people don't belong. And it works. In 2024, black people made up 13% of the US population, but only 9% of engineering students, 7% of professional engineers, 5% of tech company leaders, and 2% of STEM professors. And people look at those numbers and say, see, black people just aren't interested in STEM. That's a lie. The interest is there, the capability is there, the genius is there. But the system spent 400 years suppressing it. They erased black inventors from textbooks so black children wouldn't have role models. They underfunded black schools so STEM education was inadequate. They created hostile environments in universities where black STEM students face discrimination from professors and peers. They built hiring systems where black engineers get rejected despite being more qualified than white candidates. And then they look at the results of this systematic exclusion and say, black people just aren't good at STEM. Norbert Rillieux was teaching engineering at Europe's top school at age 24. That's not exceptional black intelligence. That's just intelligence. Black intelligence that was given opportunity. Lewis Latimer worked for Edison and Bell and designed lighting systems for entire cities. Garrett Morgan saved 32 lives with his gas mask and invented the traffic light. The genius was always there. The system just spent centuries hiding it. A 2015 survey found that 85% of American high school students had never heard of Norbert Rillieux. Only 12% of high school chemistry textbooks mentioned him at all. And even in Louisiana, the state he transformed the state that made hundreds of millions from his invention, they didn't add him to the school curriculum until 2004. 2004. That's 161 years after his patent. 3 generations of Louisiana students graduated without learning that one of the most important inventors in their state's history was a black man. If your child says they want to be an engineer and a teacher says, maybe try something else, that's not because your child isn't smart. That's because the teacher was taught that black people don't belong in STEM. If your resume gets rejected from tech companies despite your qualifications, that's not because you aren't qualified. That's because the system was designed to exclude you. If your brilliant idea gets ignored in meetings, and then a white coworker suggests the same thing 5 minutes later, and everyone loves it, that's not new. That's the same erasure that destroyed Granville Woods. But they didn't just erase black genius from textbooks. They weaponized the legal system to make sure black people couldn't protect their inventions. And that weapon is still being used today. Before the Civil War, enslaved people could not hold patents. It was federal law. United States patent law stated that only citizens could apply for patents, and enslaved people were not citizens. They were property. So if an enslaved person invented something, anything, the legal owner of that invention was their master. The plantation owner could file for the patent himself. He could profit from it. He could become wealthy from it. And the enslaved inventor got nothing. Not credit, not money, not even their name in the records. We will never know how many inventions were stolen this way. Historians estimate it's in the hundreds, possibly thousands. Enslaved people who were blacksmiths, carpenters, mechanics, builders, they innovated constantly because they had to. They figured out better ways to do their work, better tools, better techniques, better systems. And every single one of those innovations was legally stolen by their masters. After the Civil War, after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, black people theoretically could get patents. But the system made it nearly impossible. First, there was the cost. Filing a patent application cost money that most formerly enslaved people didn't have. Then you needed a lawyer who understood patent law. Most black people couldn't afford lawyers. Then you needed professional technical drawings that met patent office standards. More money, more barriers. But even if you could afford all of that, there was another problem. The patent examiners were white. The judges were white. The juries were white. And they all believed black people were intellectually inferior. So when a black inventor submitted a patent application, examiners scrutinized it far more harshly than applications from white inventors. They looked for any excuse to reject it. They demanded more proof, more documentation, more explanation. They created obstacles that white inventors never faced. And if a black inventor did get a patent approved, white companies had a playbook for stealing it: patent trolling. That's when a company with deep pockets sues a small inventor, claiming the patent is invalid or infringes on their existing patents. They drag the inventor through years of expensive litigation. Most small inventors can't afford to fight, so they settle or sell the patent cheap or just give up. This happened to Granville Woods multiple times. Edison sued him. Other companies sued him. They knew Woods didn't have unlimited money for legal battles, so they sued until he broke, forced buyouts. That's when a company threatens to sue to drag you through court for years, to bankrupt you with legal fees, unless you sell them your patent at whatever price they offer. And that price is always far below the patent's real value. But you sell anyway because you can't afford to fight. Garrett Morgan sold his traffic light patent to General Electric for pennies compared to what it was worth, because he knew if he didn't, they'd find a way to take it anyway. Copycat patents. That's when a company looks at your invention, makes tiny, meaningless changes, files a new patent for the modified version, then sues you for patent infringement. They claim you're violating their patent even though they stole from you. And because they have better lawyers and more money, they often win. Credit theft. That's when a company hires you as an engineer or researcher, learns how your invention works, fires you, then files a patent under a white executive's name. This happened constantly in the 20th century, and it still happens today. Norbert Rillieux was lucky in one way. His father was wealthy and could afford lawyers to protect his patent. But most black inventors didn't have that advantage. And even Rillieux couldn't fully protect his invention after he fled to France. American companies violated his patent-built evaporators using his design, and he had no way to stop them from across the ocean. The patent system wasn't designed to protect inventors. It was designed to protect white inventors. For black inventors, it was just another barrier, another way to steal their genius and give white people the credit and the profit. But maybe the most evil part of this system wasn't the theft. It was the laws designed specifically to drive black genius out of America. Laws that forced brilliant people like Norbert Rillieux into exile. Laws that said, no matter how smart you are, no matter how much wealth you create for us, you will never be equal. In the 1850s, Louisiana passed a series of laws targeting free people of color. And these laws were specifically designed to make successful black people leave. In 1855, Louisiana passed a law requiring all free people of color to carry passes. Written documents signed by a white person that proved you were free and gave you permission to move around the city or state. If you were stopped by police or any white citizen and you didn't have your pass, you could be arrested immediately. And if you couldn't prove you were free, you could be sold into slavery. Think about that. Norbert Rillieux was one of the most brilliant engineers in the world. He had revolutionized the sugar industry. He had made white plantation owners millionaires. And Louisiana told him he needed written permission from a white person to walk down the street. If he forgot his pass at home, he could be arrested and enslaved. In 1857, Louisiana banned free people of color from moving into the state. If you were born somewhere else and wanted to come to Louisiana even for work, you couldn't. They were trying to reduce the number of free black people in the state. In 1859, Louisiana passed a law allowing free people of color to voluntarily enslave themselves. The law said if you were free but life was too hard, you could choose a white master and become enslaved in exchange for protection. Can you imagine the evil of that, creating conditions so terrible that you offer people the option to enslave themselves? By 1860, free people of color in Louisiana couldn't gather in groups, couldn't hold meetings, couldn't organize, couldn't publish newspapers or pamphlets. Their freedom was being stripped away piece by piece, and the goal was clear: force successful Black people to leave. Make life unbearable so they take their talent and their genius somewhere else. Because successful Black people destroyed the justification for slavery. They proved Black people could thrive with freedom and education, and white supremacy couldn't tolerate that proof. So Norbert left. He went back to France, where his mind was respected more than his skin was hated, and Louisiana's loss was France's gain. But think about what Louisiana did. They rejected his life-saving sewage system design and let thousands of people die in yellow fever epidemics. Then years later, they built a system almost identical to his design, but gave white engineers the credit. They stole his work even after forcing him to leave. And this pattern continued for another 100 years. After Reconstruction ended in 1877, every Southern state passed Black codes. Laws designed to recreate slavery in everything but name. Vagrancy laws that let police arrest Black people for being unemployed, then lease them to plantations as convict labor. Sharecropping laws that trapped Black farmers in debt they could never repay. Segregation laws that kept Black people out of good schools, good jobs, good neighborhoods. And all of it was designed to keep Black people poor, powerless, and unable to compete with white people economically. Successful Black people were targeted specifically. If you built wealth, they found ways to destroy it. If you owned a business, they burned it or passed laws to shut it down. If you owned land, they used legal tricks to take it or just drove you off with violence. And if you were so brilliant they couldn't destroy you, they forced you to leave, like they did to Norbert Rillieux. The message was clear: stay poor, stay quiet, stay in your place. Because if you rise, if you succeed, if you prove that Black people are just as capable as white people, we will destroy you. And this wasn't just law. This was culture. This was media. This was education. This was the entire society working together to erase Black genius and replace it with a lie. From the 1800s through the 1900s, newspapers, magazines, and books only celebrated white inventors. Scientific journals only featured white researchers. History books only taught about white innovators. Movies and television shows portrayed Black people as servants, manual laborers, entertainers. Never scientists, never engineers, never innovators. The culture told the same lie over and over until people believed it. White people invent, Black people don't. And when they absolutely had to acknowledge a Black invention because it was too successful to hide, they minimized it. They called it just a simple improvement. They said the Black inventor was lucky or was helped by white people. They found ways to give white people partial credit, or they just stayed silent and didn't report it at all. When Norbert Rillieux's multiple effect evaporator became successful in the 1840s, trade journals in the sugar industry wrote about the machine. But many of them didn't emphasize that Rillieux was Black. Some articles called him Mr. Rillieux, but didn't mention his racial background, letting readers assume he was white. And after he died, his name slowly disappeared from industry publications. By the early 1900s, textbooks about sugar refining described multiple effect evaporation, but often didn't name the inventor at all. They just erased him. They used his machine. They made billions from his genius. But they couldn't let the world know that a black man was smarter than white engineers. So they stopped saying his name. And that erasure lasted for over 100 years. It's only in the last 20 or 30 years that historians have worked to recover his story and put him back into the history books where he belongs. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't just history. This isn't something that happened long ago and stopped. The same theft, the same erasure, the same systematic suppression of black genius is happening right now, today. In 2026, they just rebranded it. The mechanisms changed, but the goal is the same. Keep black people out of STEM. Keep black inventors from profiting from their genius. Keep black excellence invisible. Let me show you how. In 2024, black people made up 13% of the American population. But in STEM fields, the numbers tell a very different story. Only 9% of engineering students are black. Only 7% of professional engineers are black. Only 5% of tech company leadership is black. And only 2% of STEM professors are black. People look at those numbers and they say, see, black people just aren't interested in science and technology. They say black students prefer other fields. They say it's a pipeline problem that not enough black kids choose STEM majors. But that's not the truth. That's the excuse they give to hide the real problem. The real problem is that the system that erased Norbert Rillieux is still operating today. Black children don't lack interest in STEM. They lack encouragement. Studies show that black elementary school students are just as interested in science and math as white students. But by middle school, that interest drops sharply. Why? Because teachers discourage them. Because guidance counselors steer them toward other fields. Because textbooks don't show black scientists and engineers. Because the message they receive every day is that STEM is not for you. A 2019 study followed black students through high school and college. The students who had just one black STEM teacher were significantly more likely to major in STEM fields. Just one. One teacher who looked like them and showed them it was possible. But most black students never have that. Most black students go through their entire education without ever having a black science or math teacher. So they never see themselves reflected in those fields. And when black students do choose STEM majors, they face hostile environments. They're assumed to be less qualified. Professors call on them less in class. Study groups exclude them. Job recruiters overlook them. One black woman engineer described going through 4 years of college where white male students constantly questioned whether she belonged there, whether she really understood the material, whether she only got in because of affirmative action. She graduated top of her class, but she spent 4 years fighting just to be seen as equal. This is the legacy of erasure. When you erase black genius from history, when you never teach children about Norbert Rillieux or Lewis Latimer or Granville Woods, when you build a culture that says innovation is white, then black students are made to feel like intruders in STEM fields. And many of them leave. Not because they aren't smart enough, not because they aren't interested, but because the system makes it too exhausting to stay. Your poverty isn't proof you're not smart. Your struggle isn't evidence of inability. It's proof they stole from you. It's evidence of systematic suppression. If Norbert Rillieux's family had received fair royalties for his invention royalties that white inventors received as standard practice, his descendants would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars today. Think about that. The Louisiana sugar industry used his evaporator for decades. The global sugar industry still uses his principles. If he had received just 1% royalty on sugar refined, using his method, his estate would be worth billions. But he got a one-time payment. And after he fled to France, American companies violated his patent and paid him nothing. So his family got nothing. His descendants got nothing. The wealth that should have been passed down for generations was stolen. And that's the wealth gap. That's why median and white household wealth is $188,000, while median black household wealth is $24,000. Not because black people don't work hard, not because black people don't innovate, but because every time black people built wealth, they stole it. Multiply Norbert's story by thousands. Granville Woods held over 50 patents. If his family had received ongoing royalties, they'd be worth hundreds of millions. Lewis Latimer's carbon filament is in billions of light bulbs. His family should be billionaires. Garrett Morgan's traffic light is in every city in the world. His descendants should own generational wealth. Add it all up. Conservative estimates say black inventors from 1865 to 1965 created intellectual property worth over $500 billion in today's money. And almost none of that wealth went to black families. It went to white companies who copied the designs, white manufacturers who mass-produced them, white investors who funded the businesses built on stolen black genius. That's not ancient history. That affects your life right now. That's why your family rents instead of owns. That's why your neighborhood has no grocery stores or banks. That's why you can't get a small business loan. Because the wealth that should have been in your community for generations was systematically stolen. And they call that the free market. They call that equal opportunity. No, that's theft, and the bill is due. And the theft continues today. In 2023, black founders received less than 1% of venture capital funding in America. Less than 1%. Meanwhile, white male founders received 77%. Black founders pitch better ideas, have more education, show stronger business plans, and still get rejected at massively higher rates. Why? Because the investors are almost all white. And they invest in people who look like them. They invest in people they're comfortable with. And decades of cultural programming told them that black people don't innovate, so they don't see black founders as worth the risk. A 2019 study examined patent applications and found something disturbing. When the exact same invention was submitted to the patent office under a stereotypically black name versus a stereotypically white name, the black-named inventor was 50% less likely to have the patent approved. 50%. Same invention, same documentation, same everything except the name. And that name determined whether you got your patent or not. Black engineers working at major tech companies report that their ideas are regularly stolen by white managers. They propose a solution in a meeting. The manager dismisses it. 2 weeks later, the manager presents the same solution as his own idea. The black engineer gets no credit, no bonus, no promotion. And when they complain, they're told they're being too sensitive, they're playing the race card, they need to be team players. And if they push too hard, they're fired. Then they're forced to sign non-disclosure agreements that prevent them from talking about what happened. It's 2026, and black inventors are still fighting the same theft that Norbert Rillieux faced in 1843. They just changed the language. They rebranded it, but it's the same system. Steal black genius Give white people the credit. Profit billions. Erase the black creator. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Every time a black engineer is underpaid compared to white colleagues doing the same job, that's modern Rillieux. Every time a black student is told STEM isn't for them, that's systematic erasure. Every time a black inventor's patent is challenged unfairly, that's theft. And every time someone says black people just aren't good at STEM, that's the same lie they've been telling for 400 years. But now you know the truth. Now you know why the wealth gap exists. Now you know why STEM fields are overwhelmingly white. Now you know that it's not because black people lack genius. It's because white supremacy spent centuries stealing that genius and hiding the evidence. And here's what I need you to understand. You are not victims. You are not people who failed. You are descendants of people who succeeded so brilliantly that the entire system had to work together to suppress you. Think about that. They didn't ignore your ancestors. They didn't dismiss them. They feared them. They feared black success so much, they created laws to destroy it. They feared black genius so much, they erased it from textbooks. They feared black wealth so much, they burned entire cities to ash. You are not descendants of victims. You are descendants of threats. You are descendants of people so powerful, so brilliant, so dangerous to white supremacy that they had to exile them, rob them, murder them, erase them, just to maintain control. Norbert Rillieux was such a threat that Louisiana drove him out of the country despite the fact that he made them millions. That's not weakness. That's power they couldn't contain. You come from genius. It's in your DNA. It's genetic. It's ancestral. Norbert Rillieux taught Europe's brightest minds at 24. Benjamin Banneker surveyed and designed Washington, D.C. in 1791. Lewis Latimer drew the blueprints for the telephone and revolutionized the light bulb. Garrett Morgan invented the gas mask and traffic light. Dr. Charles Drew created the blood bank system. Katherine Johnson calculated the trajectories that put men on the moon. Marie Van Britten Brown invented the home security system. Otis Boykin invented the pacemaker control unit. Patricia Bath invented laser cataract surgery. These aren't exceptions, these aren't rare flukes. This is your heritage. This is normal for you. Brilliance is what you come from. Innovation is your birthright. And they spent 400 years trying to hide that from you. Because if you knew who you really were, you'd be unstoppable. Every time you fix something broken, you're channeling Rillieux. Every time you solve a problem nobody else could figure out, you're channeling black genius. Every time you create something from nothing, you're doing exactly what your ancestors did under slavery, under Jim Crow, under systematic oppression. They built empires with chains on their wrist. What will you build with freedom? Your child who loves math isn't unusual. That's genetic. Your nephew who takes apart electronics to see how they work isn't strange. That's ancestral. Your daughter who asks a million questions about how things work isn't annoying. That's brilliance trying to emerge. And your job is to protect it. Your job is to tell them who they come from. Your job is to show them Norbert Rillieux and say, this is your great-great-great-grandfather. Not literally, but spiritually. This is your lineage. This is your inheritance. They told you STEM is white. That's colonization of your mind. The truth is that ancient Africans built pyramids using mathematics Europe wouldn't discover for 2,000 years. The University of Timbuktu was teaching astronomy and medicine while Europe was in the Dark Ages. Your ancestors navigated oceans by stars. They built irrigation systems. They performed surgeries. They were engineers before Europe had a word for engineering. Innovation isn't white. White people just wrote the textbooks and put their names on everything, but we're rewriting that story now. We're putting the names back. Norbert Rillieux, Granville Woods, Lewis Latimer, Garrett Morgan, and hundreds more. We're teaching our children who they really come from. We're reclaiming our inheritance. And we're demanding what was stolen. And that's not revenge. That's justice. That's not anger. That's righteousness. When we demand reparations, we're not asking for charity. We're demanding payment for stolen intellectual property. We're demanding $500 billion in unpaid royalties plus 181 years of compound interest. We're demanding the wealth that should have been passed down through our families for generations. That's not a handout. That's a debt payment. When we demand that schools teach Black history accurately, we're not asking for special treatment. We're demanding that they stop lying to our children. We're demanding that Norbert Rillieux gets the same space in textbooks that Thomas Edison gets. That's not affirmative action. That's truth. When we demand that tech companies hire more Black engineers, we're not lowering standards. We're demanding they stop discriminating against the descendants of the people who've been innovating for 400 years despite every barrier you created. That's not a favor. That's equity. Pause right here. If you didn't learn about Norbert Rillieux in school, comment erased below. If this story made you angry, hit that like button. Let the algorithm know the truth needs to be spread. If you know someone, your child, your niece, your nephew, your grandchild, your student who loves math and science but thinks STEM isn't for Black people, share this video with them right now. Don't wait. They need to know they come from engineering royalty. This is how we fight erasure. One share, one comment, one like at a time. God didn't preserve your ancestors through 400 years of oppression by accident. Think about that. Why did God allow Norbert Rillieux to be born free when millions were enslaved? Why did God open the door for him to study in Paris when most Black children couldn't read? Why did God give him the genius to solve what white engineers couldn't? Because God had an assignment, a purpose, a mission. The Bible is full of stories like this. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. He was falsely accused and thrown in prison. But God raised him up to become second in command of Egypt. Why? Because God had an assignment. Daniel was taken captive to Babylon. He was thrown into a den of lions. But God protected him and made him an advisor to the king. Why? Because God had an assignment. Esther was an orphan. She became queen of Persia. She saved her entire people from genocide. Why? Because God had an assignment. God doesn't waste talent. When he gives brilliance to an oppressed people, it's because he has a purpose. When he preserves genius through slavery, through Jim Crow, through systematic theft and erasure, it's because that genius has work to do. Norbert Rillieux didn't just invent an evaporator. He proved that Black genius exists. He proved it to Europe. He proved it to America. He proved it to history. They tried to erase him. But 181 years later, we're still talking about him. That's God protecting the legacy. That's God making sure you know your inheritance. And you're watching this video right now for a reason. This isn't random. This isn't coincidence. This is divine appointment. God put this truth in front of you today because you have an assignment. Your assignment is to learn your real history. to teach your children their real ancestors, to build wealth using the genius in your DNA, to demand what was stolen, to create systems that can't be stolen, to leave a legacy they can't erase. Norbert Rillieux's evaporator is still used 181 years later. What will you create that lasts 181 years? What will you build that your great-great-great-grandchildren benefit from? What legacy will you leave that they can't erase? You made it to the end. That means something. That means you're a truth seeker. That means you refuse to accept lies. Here's what I need you to do. Subscribe to this channel right now, because Norbert Rillieux is just one story. There are hundreds more. The all-black town that fought off the KKK and won. The Black Wall Street millionaires they murdered for being too successful. The black woman scientist who discovered a cure and had it stolen. The black soldiers who saved D-Day but were erased from history books. We're exposing every buried story, every stolen triumph, every erased genius. If you're not subscribed, you'll miss it. Share this video. Post it on Facebook. Text it to your family group chat. Send it to your church, because schools won't teach this. Textbooks won't include this. You have to be the teacher. You have to be the historian. You have to keep this truth alive. Comment below. What was your biggest takeaway? Did you learn about Rillieux in school? What other black inventors do you want us to cover? Your comments keep this video visible. They push it to more people. They fight the algorithm that tries to bury truth. This isn't just information. This is your inheritance. This is your legacy. This is your power. Norbert Rillieux risked everything to prove black genius exists. The least you can do is risk 10 seconds to share. Don't let them erase him again. Don't let them erase you. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for Norbert Rillieux. We thank you for preserving his story when they tried to bury it. We thank you for the hundreds of black inventors whose names we don't know, but you do. The enslaved people who invented things their masters stole. The free black people whose patents were stolen. The genius that died suppressed. You saw it all. You recorded it all. And you're bringing it back to light. We pray for justice, Lord. We pray that what was stolen would be restored. We pray that the descendants of black inventors would receive the royalties their ancestors were owed. We pray for trillions in reparations, not as charity, but as payment for stolen intellectual property with 181 years of interest. We pray for every black child in a STEM classroom right now. Remove the lie that they don't belong. Remove the teachers who discourage them. Remove every barrier to their genius. Activate the brilliance you placed in their DNA. Give them confidence. Give them opportunity. Give them success that can't be denied. We pray for every black engineer, scientist, programmer, inventor working today. Protect their patents, protect their ideas, protect them from corporate theft, vindicate their genius, multiply their impact. Let them profit from their brilliance the way white inventors have profited for centuries. We pray for awakening. We pray that every person who watched this video would see the truth, that the scales would fall from their eyes, that they would recognize black genius isn't new. It's ancestral, it's genetic, it's divine, it's been here all along. You just had to dig through the lies to find it. Make us like Rillieux, brilliant, bold, unshakable. Make us refuse to shrink. Make us teach when they tell us to be silent. Make us invent when they tell us we're not capable. Make us build when they try to destroy. Give us wisdom that confounds their experts. Give us creativity that transforms industries. Give us innovation that changes the world. Bless those who share this truth. Strengthen those who fight for recognition. Vindicate those whose genius was stolen. And let this generation be the one that finally gets paid. Let this be the generation that breaks every chain. Let this be the generation that restores what was taken and builds what can never be destroyed. In Jesus' name, amen. Walk in your genius. Demand your inheritance. You are descendants of the man who revolutionized the world. They can't erase you anymore. We won't let them. Until next time, build wealth, protect your innovations. Remember who you come from. God bless you. Stay brilliant. Stay dangerous. Stay free.